The last investigators have left the Germanwings crash site in the French Alps. Investigators are now focusing on analysis of the flight data recorder, which has now shown that co-pilot Andreas Lubitz purposely used the controls to speed up the plane's descent right before it crashed. And investigators are also taking a closer look at cell phones recovered from the crash site. Let's take a closer look at the developments now. CNN's Will Ripley is following the investigation from Dusseldorf, Germany. Pate is a criminal defense attorney who has handled numerous federal cases and has helped resolve international criminal cases around the world. And Jonathan Gilliam is a former FBI agent and former air marshal. So, Will, to you first, does this mean that the ground investigation is over, that investigators have now left that French Alps site?
Right. The investigation in the French Alps is now over. This is a new development as of today. And what this says, Fred, is that they have recovered the key pieces of evidence. We're talking about the two black boxes, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. They have recovered DNA profiles for 150 people. Of course, because of the force of this impact, the plane hitting at more than 400 miles an hour, there were no intact remains, which, think about the fact that tomorrow's Easter. This is certainly not the Easter that those families were planning for. But they recovered those. They recovered some 470 personal effects, including, as you mentioned, 40 cell phones, most of them severely damaged. But they're going to look through all of that, look through those phones specifically to see if they can glean any more indication of what exactly was happening in the final minutes of the flight, if somebody took video or whatnot. But the investigation, even though the crash site is cleared, it will continue for many months in laboratories and warehouses, and they're going to clear out the rest of the debris later this week, and they're going to bring that to a separate location as well, Fred.
All right, Will Ripley, thanks so much. Let's turn our attention now to Paige Pate and Jonathan Gilliam to talk more about the investigation. We heard Will say the ground investigation is over because those searchers have left the French Alps, but that doesn't mean the entire investigation is over. In fact, it really may mean that the homicide or murder investigation is really just in its infancy. So when you hear this, Paige, first of all, the evidence is clear that the co-pilot did this intentionally. He's dead. But then why does there still need to be an investigation that would be pegged either murder or homicide? What does that infer? What's next?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. A lot of people are wondering, why are we doing a criminal investigation if the co-pilot is dead? I mean, you can't put him in jail or prison.
Right.
He's no longer with us. You can't go after his family just because he did this. But under European law, both in France and in Germany, there is the possibility of prosecuting a corporation, a business.
So now we're talking Lufthansa.
Now you're talking Lufthansa, the managers,
Germanwings,
the supervisors, and even assuming no one else was involved in planning this, you can still have a criminal case for not murder, but a manslaughter type offense based on negligence. Should you have known that he was in this position?
Does that mean the doctors would be in that realm as well?
It all depends.
Because there is that patient-doctor confidentiality, but in a case like this, when you talk about life or death or someone's job puts the lives of hundreds, potentially in peril, does that change the
It does. There's a responsibility, and it's the same for lawyers as well. Most of our conversations are privileged, but if you tell me something that I believe is going to lead to a future crime, then I have an obligation to disclose that.
Okay, so Jonathan, when we talk about culpability, those who may have known how much they knew at what stage of the game, how do investigators get at that? We already know there have been notes that some of the investigators found at the apartment of the co-pilot, but does there need to be more that shows that more people knew or there were red flags?
Well, the way an investigation unfolds is, think of it as a pie, and there's different pieces of that pie. Once you get one piece, then you start to work that piece and try to develop a full pie. Right, and what you were just saying a second ago there about if an attorney knows about something, it's their responsibility for a future crime to then report that. The same thing has to do, is the case with the medical industry. And I really think as these investigators go forward, I mean, they know it wasn't a mechanical error in the plane, so they can now start concentrating on the fact of what balls were, where they dropped the ball as far as the medical industry, the airline industry. Lufthansa, who said that they knew that there were some issues with this guy. I just see lawsuits. I'm not an attorney, but I see lawsuits all over the place with this.
It would seem like it. All right, Jonathan, Gillian, Paige, Pate, thanks so much. I know we've got so much more, that makes this case makes us so curious, but I have a feeling we're going to talk about it again.
Thank you.
Still not over. It really is just the beginning. All right, thanks so much. All right.